because I never played Jade Cocoon 1, okay? It still hurts.
Hello, you've caught me watching a Friday feature, which is, I guess, what I've caught you doing too. Ha! But more specifically, I have been watching 7 Games We Love More Than They Deserve because it stirred a memory that recently I just have not been able to stop thinking about. And it's my experience with the original Jade Cocoon, a game about which I could talk at great length, but also a game that, weirdly, I've never actually played. It just feels like I have. And that's because of PS1 demo discs. Now, if you're too young to remember these, I'm really sorry. The next 12 minutes or so are going to be the Friday feature equivalent of a really boring uncle telling you how in his day you'd be lucky to play with a hoop and a stick. Why don't you go and, I don't know, do the floss dance in front of a mirror or whatever it is you like doing, because we're going to talk about PS1 demo discs. You got them on the front cover of PlayStation magazine every month because back then there was no PlayStation Store. You couldn't just try demos of whatever game you wanted on a downloadable whim like you can now. You had to save up your pocket money and wait, wondering the night before the new issue came out what snippets of video gaming magic you'd get to sample this time. This is how we played most of our games as kids before we had spending power of our own, and it resulted in us playing everything and owning nothing. So here are 7 PS1 demos we played forever without actually owning the full game. I'll start with Jade Cocoon, the game I wished I owned. I played this demo over and over and over, so much that I must have clocked up at least 20 hours of gameplay just on this 30-minute segment. I can't really remember if the Pokemon craze had taken over my school or not by this point, but what I do remember is the idea of fighting monsters not simply to kill them, but to capture them, raise them, level them up and deploy them in combat seemed revolutionary to me. I'd been weaned on Final Fantasy, Breath of Fire and the like, you know, games where you just hit things continually until they were dead. Now, here was this daring new game where you hit things continually until they were nearly dead before trapping them in balls of light with a magic flute. Groundbreaking. It wasn't just the combat that captivated me, however. There was a mystical, otherworldly quality to Jade Cocoon, a strangeness I just wanted to prod and poke and explore. The fact I only had the demo, a small tease of the alien world that lay beyond, somehow made it even more exciting. I never found out what was hidden away past this forest, and as much as I'd love to have owned and played the full game, the mystery of the unknown somehow solidifies Jade Cocoon's legendary status in my mind even more. Thanks, demo disc, you big tease. Next up is a game I forgot even existed until recently when I started sifting through the sawdust of old memory piled up in the dark corners of my brain and somehow unearthed Blood Omen Legacy of Kain. Oh my god, yeah, I thought to myself, I remember that. The one that came before Soul Reaver and that everyone forgets because Soul Reaver was the sexy 3D sequel and Blood Omen, where you control Kain, you know, the bad guy, was a top-down, old-school 2D action adventure that had you going around doing very bad guy things. In fact, I'm cheating here because I never played this on a demo disc. What actually happened was I went round to my mate's house and I watched his older brother play the game. It counts, it's my video. Anyway, I'm pretty sure Blood Omen Legacy of Kain was an 18, so there was no way I was getting this for Christmas, even if I did all the hoovering for a year. So I watched my mate's brother play it. Warren, his name was. He was sort of my hero. He'd borrowed my copy of Ninja Shadow of Darkness and finished it with ease. I never finished it. And here he was, aged 15 and a half, actual beard hairs on his nearly adult face, wearing his size 10 shoes, playing this 18 rated game like it was nothing, like whatever, I don't care, vampires, let's do it. And I was transfixed. Here was a game that was dark, where you controlled a not very nice person that did not very nice things. A sequence that really sticks in my mind is when Kain was walking around a dungeon. You know, there were prisoners strung up to the walls on chains, and they would just repeat the same line of dialogue over and over. Please help me, kind sir.
Please help me, kindly. Help me, kind sir.
But Kain, or Warren, didn't help the prisoners. He wasn't a kind sir. Instead, what he did was suck out all their blood and kill them. It was almost harmonious. Please help me, kind sir. Please help me, kind sir. Please help me, kind sir.
I think we might have made a breakthrough here.
Hogs of War is next up. Oh, how I loved this demo. Basically, if you haven't heard of Hogs of War, it's Worms, but 3D and with pigs. Okay, that's literally it. But my god, I could not get enough of it. Little pigs in military gear, trotting over what I thought were absolutely huge maps. I honestly couldn't believe how big and open this game felt. Shooting rocket launchers at each other and then flying through the air shrieking. Why was there never a sequel to this? It was a simple pleasure I poured tens of hours into, playing the same map on repeat, getting to grips with the timing and the trajectory of the rockets, knowing when to chuck a grenade or when to pull out the rifle. I literally stopped playing Worms, an actual full game I owned, in favour of the Hogs of War demo. Also, Rick Mail did all the voices.
You are now standing right next to a shelter. Useful little things for when the coward in all of us surfaces. Get close to it and press the triangle button to get in.
Rest in peace, you absolute legend. Our fourth entry is Crash Bash, a brilliant party multiplayer game that's lived its life in the all-encompassing shadow of trendy predecessors Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, 3 and Crash Team Racing. Understandably so, but perhaps undeservedly so. This was the first Crash game not to be developed by Naughty Dog, but the warmth, humour, variety and inarticulable quality that define the series were all still very much there. When I was 13, I had a small operation. It was nothing serious, but it did mean I was off school and bedridden for 3 whole weeks. And it was so amazing. My sister very kindly bought me the latest issue of PlayStation Magazine as a sort of get-well present, and with it came the demo for Crash Bash. I had my PS1 next to my bed with a bunch of full games, but the Crash Bash demo was all I played for the entire 3-week period. There were only a couple of levels. The one I liked best was this, knocking other people off a block of ice while riding a small polar bear. Oh man, happy memories. Then, and I'm still not over this, my mum goes and buys Crash Bash as a Christmas present for my sister, and not as a joint present. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
You already had all the other Crash games.
Exactly! My sister wasn't a fan of sharing. Maybe it had something to do with me deliberately corrupting her entire memory card that one time, but that's beside the point. So I was rarely allowed to play the full-fat Crash Bash, unless it was to be beaten by her in multiplayer. So for me, Crash Bash will forever be that demo I played while I was in bed for 3 weeks. Thank you, Crash Bash demo. Thank you. Entry 5 is 40 Winks, a platform adventure with a very clever name in that the game is about your character, either rough or tumble, again very clever, rescuing 40 kidnapped Winks, small beings responsible for good dreams. And also because 40 Winks is a slang term for sleeping, with the whole game taking place inside a dream. The graphics on this absolutely blew me away when I first saw them. I loved loved the look of 40 Winks. It sort of captured the weird, not quite rightness of trying to focus on things in a dream. And also the movement was a bit slow and slidey, just like in a dream, which I'm sure was a deliberate design decision. Apparently there were loads of different levels, an underwater one, a space one, a castle one, a pirate one, but I only ever played the one in the demo. I wanted this game so bad. I remember playing the demo while simultaneously poring over the review in Official PlayStation magazine, obsessed, for some reason, with the look and feel of this thing, and also wondering why 40 winks is slang for sleep. I mean, winking 40 times, does that actually make you fall asleep? Does it work? No, it doesn't. Kingsleys Adventure is next, one of my favourite demos of all time. My soul aches for this game. I wanted it so badly, and yet it was never mine, and so to quiet my wailing heart, I just played the demo again and again and again. For those of you not familiar with Kingsley, he's an orphaned fox cub tasked with saving the Fruit Kingdom from Bad Custard, an evil rat chef wizard who's come along, stolen the Queen's Book of Magic, and with it, cast a spell to make everything not very nice. I don't know why the fox lives in the Fruit Kingdom. I don't know why the bad rat wizard is dressed as a chef. I don't know why his name is Bad Custard, whether that's his chef's name or his wizard's name, or just the name his irresponsible rat parents gave him when he was born. Oh, Egg, my dear, what can we call our newborn son so he doesn't sound stupid if he ever ends up as the villain in a video game?
I don't know, Powdered. Something that, when you put it in front of our surname, Custard, doesn't sound silly.
I know. How about Bad?
Perfect.
Who cares? It's a really fun and magical game and has characters that do that kind of pre-voice acting video game talk that instantly takes me back to the good old days of speech bubbles and... well, that. Okay, my final entry is indicative of demo disc culture in that I can't actually remember what the game is called. So this entry is going to be entirely just me on the sofa describing this game to you in the hopes that someone in the comments will know what it is and remember its name. Okay, so here we go. It was a fighting game, but it wasn't like a 2D fighting game like Tekken or Street Fighter. It was on like a 3D map, and you could move your fighters freely across this 3D map. And when you were in close quarters, it was like traditional hand-to-hand combat, you know, punching and kicking and combos. And when you moved further away, you could fire energy at each other, and you could even like charge up your energy attacks and like fling them across the map at each other. And I think the reason I liked it was because it was as close to Dragon Ball Z as I could get at that stage. But yeah, I cannot remember for the life of me what that game is called. So if you think you know what it is, please tell me in the comments, because I really want to make a video where we're reunited after years apart, and I'm crying, the game's crying, you're crying watching it, and yeah. Please help me. And while you're at it, list your favourite PS1 demo experiences in the comments, especially games whose names you've forgotten, and we'll try and help you track them down. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, click the notification bell to stay up to date with all our videos, and join us again next week for another Friday feature. Thanks for watching.
For the players.